So it's Sunday morning and you might be going to church, and some of you might be going to the confessional. And forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. And inside that confessional there is a seal, the seal of the Catholic confessional. What's said in the confessional stays in the confessional. It's been a precept of the church for centuries. So penitents, so I've done some research, I know what you are when you go in there. Penitents enter the booth and they confess their sins and transgressions to a priest to receive spiritual comfort, advice, and once they've done their sort of Hail Marys and what they should do, absolution, a forgiving of the sin in the eyes of God's representative on earth, the priest. So it's always been confidential, absolutely, but not now in Victoria, Australia, where legislation has been introduced into the state parliament which would effectively force priests to report suspected child abuse revealed to them in the confessional. And there are people in New Zealand who want to do this too, and I understand this. Why not? Peter walks into a confessional. Dear Father, hello. Yes, I have abused 20 children. 20 Hail Marys and off you go. No, I think I'll just phone the cops. Dob you in. If that's all right, you just told me. You did it. Why not? If the priest did not tell the authorities about it, then they become an accomplice to the crime. And I can see why many people think this is a good idea to force priests to report the suspected child abuse that's revealed in the confessional. Priests don't like the idea. They're aghast. Because under their laws, any priest that breaks that seal is excommunicated, thrown right out of the church they love. And that's pretty heavy for them. And so no wonder the Archbishop of Victoria has come out and said he would rather go to jail than break the confessional seal. So under the legislation, there are penalties of up to 3 years behind bars for those priests who have knowingly concealed child abuse information. So I thought about this, and as I said, I can see why people might think this is a good idea, but I've come to the conclusion it's not. First thing I thought about was the safety of the children in particular should be paramount. I get that. And I understand the Catholic Church has not covered itself with glory in the field of sexual abuse, particularly of minors. So, if the priests are hearing about crimes, then why shouldn't they be compelled to report that to the authorities? But step back for a second and think of the consequences. Firstly, if you as a civilian heard about a crime, are you compelled to report it? Of course not. It is your personal decision to inform the authorities. But you don't face sentences if you choose to keep your silence. This is the flip side of freedom of speech, which is also the right to silence. It's enshrined in the Constitution of the states, but not for a priest in Victoria. Now, while a pedo or a sexual offender may admit guilt to a priest, to get a conviction in a court of law is going to take a lot more than that. Evidence, for a start. You're going to need the cooperation and bravery and testimony of the victim, aren't you? And a confessional testimony will not be some silver bullet. To confirm the testimony, a priest will be required to appear in court to tell the court what he has heard in the confessional, which, at the very least, you'd have to say is hearsay. It's a very weak form of evidence. The priest is not an eyewitness, nor has he heard an objective account of the alleged crimes. So it's not a strong addition towards the fight against abuse. And in that perception that the Catholic Church are abuse apologists, well, they're not actually. They have some rules. Some of them break it, but most don't. And you know what? They've been doing this business of the confession for a very long time, and they've got a manual on how to do it. And I've read it. And in that manual it says, if they hear about criminal stuff, the penitent should be told to tell the authorities. The penitent should be told that the church will do everything to help them admit everything to the authorities. It also says that absolution and forgiveness is dependent on the penitent handing themselves in and making things right. It's not a get-out-of-hell-free card when you walk in and admit a crime to a priest. No, they will then tell you, well, you need to go and hand yourself in. To criminalize a confessional confession is to stop its real power. If someone's admitted to a priest that they've done terrible things, it means they're on a path to actually atoning for their crimes. They've started to admit it. To criminalize the priests who hear this first admission of guilt would stop that happening. It would stop offenders taking that first step. No one's going to admit it. If they know it's going to go straight to the courts and it's going to come back to bite them, they won't tell a priest a thing. And so my conclusion is, in a perverse way, making this a crime, breaking the seal of the confessional is actually creating more secrecy around dark acts than ever before and would do more harm than good. What do you think? 9292 is the text. Dickens at NewstalkZB, of course, is the email. God be with you.